Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Live, Love, and Marry Wiser, where our mission is in our name. Proverbs 4:7 says, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. And so we are here every week to provide wisdom to you. We are happy to be here live together for the first time ever, recording in the same space. Look at this lovely set. Shout out to CEO. And we are so happy to be here. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
How y'all doing? Well, as you well know, we've had some technical difficulties. So you all were there waiting for us, and we were waiting to be with you, but we were not able to. So this is the next best thing. So I have my co-host here. What's your
Oh, yeah, I see y'all.
Ebony Wilkins. Renee Warren.
And we have a special guest today, Tracy Hemmings, is going to be
Rounding out the crew.
Yes.
Happy to be here.
So, how have you all been?
Been good. I'm blessed. Highly favored.
Good, you know. The week has been weeking. Life has been light.
It's good.
Yeah, I've been good as well. Nice to be with you. Beautiful faces and smiles.
Yeah.
Yes.
You too. I love this set. Do you all love this set?
Yes.
I'm all professional.
I see
Yes.
Love it.
We are so grateful. We are here to talk about a wonderful book called For Women Only. But before we do that,
Come on.
you know what time it is, Renee? What time is it?
It's time for the lowdown on the update.
Yeah. So, as you all know, I am on an intentional dating journey because I am ready to be married.
Right.
Find the person that God has for me. And so, I've been on the dating sites. Womp womp. But I do have an update for you all.
Okay.
All right.
The deep.
I talked to a pastor a couple of days ago, probably Friday, and I invited him to be on the program. So he's going to be on the program actually on February 20th, I believe the date is. But he does a coaching program for single women to help them to really understand how to be the woman that they need to be, to find the husband that they want. And he's awesome. Like, he's all about women. He likes to lift women up and teach them how to kind of hold their power until the time to release their power. Until when he says, will you marry me? Pretty much. And he's had like rave reviews. We had some, he did a webinar a couple of weeks ago. Actually, he's done 3. Last Sunday he did another one. But he's had some of his clients come on and talk about their experience. And most of them like get married soon after. He doesn't necessarily help you find the person.
Right.
He will if he can. But his goal is to get you ready. Right. And I really love what he talks about and how, so I'm just like, I'm really about to join his program. 12 weeks. And he coaches people beyond the 12 weeks. It's supposed to be a group coaching program, but he actually does one-to-one as well to help you. He's had people call. He told a story where a friend of a friend, she called and said, hey, my friend is on the side of the road crying because of some guy. He said, tell her to call me. She calls and he's like, I'm going to tell you what to do. Do this, say this. He tells her what to say. She says it. And the guy ends up asking her to marry him, like, almost.
Wow.
What were those words?
On the program.
Like, I need a little more context.
But let me tell you, the thing that's so interesting, he started because of his daughter. His daughter called him one day falling. And he's like, he knew it because of a guy. She'd been listening with this guy. And basically, the guy was taking advantage of her and using her. And, you know, she was just giving all her power away to him. And so he said, when you are sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Come on.
you call me back. He said, took her 6 months, but she called me. And I said, say this. And he's like, and then call me right back. This is what's going to happen. She's like, that's not going to happen. He was like, call me back. She called the guy, and she said, this is over. Because the guy was just playing her. It's been years. It's like, this is over. And she hung up. He's like, well, he was like, what do you mean? And she's like, wait. And he called. She said he was at her door. He was at her door in like minutes. And within an hour, he was at the door like, no. She's like, yeah. Right. And she was done. She called her dad. He's like, I told you. I told you. And so I love that he's about uplifting women, giving them power back. Because a lot of times we give that over to men. I mean, I don't tend to do that, but there are things I can learn from him that I've already learned from him. So I'm really interested. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out how we're going to pay for that. And I'm going to join. So
that's a great update. Awesome.
I can't wait till you join. I got questions. I got things.
He actually helps married women too. Well, regain their power when they are having trouble in their marriage.
I mean, I think I know this not where we're going. Anyway, I'm thinking like, so is he also talking to women about like disconnecting when it's time to disconnect? So
that's
not just
what
like
he did to his daughter,
right?
Yes.
So, okay, so that's what I'm trying. Okay.
Yeah,
I wanted
like
to understand
sometimes
whether or not
you need to say this to get it popping.
Right.
Sometimes you need to say this to get it going.
Yeah,
get it gone.
Okay.
And so he also helps married women. He does married retreat and all this as well. So it's really good. Okay. So I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that sounds very
intentional. I think you put it out there in the atmosphere. Now I'm here just that it's just the next step to it. So
a lot of stuff has been coming, and I've been learning a lot of things that I need to know, and so I'm excited about that. And I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it.
We could be having us a fall or winter wonderland.
I need to know, girls.
That would be awesome. Right, yeah.
I'm big in the do.
You know what they say is stay ready so you don't gotta give it.
Okay. That's the journey we're on. Yeah.
So today we're actually, this is kind of the similar topic because we're going to be talking about a wonderful book by Shanti Felton, where it's called For Women Only. She also wrote one called For Men Only. She's written several books. I actually just read a book that she wrote called something about, I can't remember, The Secrets of Marriage or something like that.
I think I have that.
And it was talking about how the stats around marriage are really not the way that you say that we think they are. We've been told 50% of marriages end in divorce. And she's like, that's not true. She actually did the research and found out like those numbers were basically estimates, and they came up from the 70s or the 80s, and we were still using them, and we were still repeating them all the time. And she's like, no, that's not true. But she wrote this book For Women Only, and I think I had heard of it, but I know I'd heard of it, but I hadn't read it yet. And then Tracy brought it up to me, and so she's like, this is a fantastic book. You have to read it because it's about teaching women about men. Things that men wish that women knew that they don't know. And it has quite a lot of fantastic information in there. So Tracy, you talk about a little bit about just kind of how you came to it and just why this was so inspired you to want to be on the program, because we've asked Tracy to be on the program before. We want Tracy to be on the program. Tracy's our buddy. But this was the thing that triggered me out. Like, I want to do it. So talk about that.
Well, actually, I was listening to a sermon on YouTube, Pastor Snell, and he recommended this book. And I'm married. And so I said, you know what? Let me check this book out. He was doing a series on marriage and relationship. And so I purchased the book, read the book, and my mind was blown. I was really just totally in awe of the information that was there. I wasn't sure that there would be anything in there that I could learn new about men. But there was a whole lot of things that I didn't realize about men.
Yeah.
I felt so convicted after reading the book that I went to my husband and I apologized to him. And I just developed this greater or deeper empathy for men and their feelings, because men have feelings too.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think like maybe only women have feelings.
Yes.
But men, actually, they're human beings, and they have feelings too. And so I really developed a greater empathy for them. And so I was like, I have to share this book with my friends. I mean, immediately shot the text out to you guys saying, hey, this is an awesome book. You have to read this book. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So you all have read the book. Just give me your initial thoughts. I'll start with Renee. Give me your initial thoughts about the book. First of all, when you heard about the book, before you even read it, like what were your thoughts, and then share some of the things that you got from it.
When I first heard about the book for women only, I didn't really think anything in particular. For women only, I really didn't think anything. I was just open to reading it and hearing, what it had, to share with us. But one of the thoughts that I had, speaking of the gentleman talking about teaching women to hold their power, that's exactly what I was thinking when I was reading the book. I was like, women, it's not that we have like a huge responsibility, but we have a huge influence over the men and how they pretty much just kind of operate, in their lives. We're talking about their behaviors, their moods, their motivation. There's just so much. When I walked away, I was like, wow, women really do play a major role in their men's lives. So I thought that was a good takeaway.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I actually heard the same sermon that T watched, and it was first. So when I first heard about the book, because of who I was hearing it from Pastor Snell, I knew it was going to be good.
Oh yeah.
So I was like taking notes on it, and it was like on my list of things to buy. And then I think we were having a conversation about it, and now then, kind of raving about it. I'm like, let me see what she done for real. Yeah, it's legit, and it's like things that my husband and I have been. This is our 26th year, and so things that he has said to me that I kind of like I heard but don't know that I received. And so reading this book was like solidifying and affirming so many of the things that he said to me, and I was really just kind of like, I mean, there were some mind-blowing moments, and particularly I think around the sensitivity of men. That men really are very sensitive, and I don't know that I had a full understanding of that until I read the book.
Yeah, at first I seeing the title initially, I thought it was like a girl power. Like, yes, women. But I mean, I don't know if it was an introduction. I don't even know if it was chapter 1, but I immediately too. It's like, dang, I need to apologize to my husband because. And also this, I think I said it to some of you ladies who were like, let's not talk a lot about it now, but I was like, so many arguments could have been saved. But many times, like she says in the book, men need to pull away first to process. And I wanted to finish that thing right there. And then now my feelings are hurt because I was trying to pull away, but I'm like, no, let's finish it down. That was just one of the things. I would say that, but I will tell you like immediately. I forget what chapter it is when she talked about sex and the importance it is to men and how it's not really just about the physical, but a needing to connect, a needing to connect emotionally. Yeah. That I was like, oh, this is what's happening. Okay. Because I was just thinking like, I'm so tired. Like, why? But not about the physical. It's really about the emotional part of it. and knowing that my husband might have been feeling like I don't love him, that because, and she talks about that too, knowing that me being tired, saying I don't want to do this, would say to him that I didn't want to connect, that I don't desire him.
Right.
And understanding that he's going out here every single day doing on campus, and to come home and you don't act too much.
You
don't
rejected.
Right. You don't act too much. And to feel like he's leaving saying he's feeling that I don't desire him. And I got a damn good look at him.
That's right.
Say that.
I appreciate everything he does, but understanding that I can say that in words, but in the fact that if he's feeling like on the daily or every other day, because I feel like it's every day, that I'm just kind of saying like, wait, or I got different excuses around it. He's not hearing all that, and I've said it before in that episode. He's like, leave the dishes in the sink. I don't care. I don't care about these things. And she talks about it in the book too. I don't care about it. Like, get rid of the to-do list and let's just connect, because it just will help him feel the love and respect that he should feel, because I do feel that way about him. Like, that hit me. So I'm telling you, he was on the train and I texted and I was like, hey.
It's on and popping.
You get home. And you'll be well rested.
And I will tell you, it threw something left, because it's normally like I dropped the kids off, this is what's going on. And I was just like, hey, thinking about you, I love you. So what time you come home tonight? He was like, about 6 or whatever. And I was like, okay, so everybody should be asleep. So I was like, all right, see you at 9 o'clock. And he was like, what?
You said what?
His mother, he would take it a step further. He put it in the iPhone calendar. Everybody, I accepted it. I was like, I ain't doing no dishes tonight. The laundry can wait, because I need to make sure this brother's going out here knowing his wife appreciates, desires him, and loves him, because
I love it. That's awesome.
So good.
Well, I'm just gonna outline the 8 revelations that this book shares, and then I'm gonna ask Tracy to dive in and just kind of talk about the first one, maybe that jumped out at you. So the 8 revelations is that it's men need respect. Like, okay, everybody knows that, but this is what it really means. They would rather feel unloved than inadequate and disrespected. Men are insecure. They, as confident as they look, they suffer from imposter syndrome. They suffer from insecurity. That's the truth of it. On the surface, says men avoid issues by checking out. And what's really happening is they process by pulling back first, thinking through the facts, because they can't process facts and feelings at the same time. So they got to process the facts, process the feelings, and then come back and say, how can we have this conversation? Number 4, men are providers, but it's really, they feel the mental burden of taking care of the family, regardless of if you make enough money to take care of everyone else. Even if they don't work and you've all agreed to that, they still feel a burden to take care of the family. Number 5, men want more sex. But your sexual desire for him affects his confidence in everything. And he goes out in the world like, I got this because she went to. Number 6, men are visual. And even happily married men struggle with live or recollected images of women. And there's women, clad in many different ways. And these things stay in their mind even when they try to avoid it, they can't. And so now having to deal with that. Men are unromantic, where many men enjoy, in fact, I think it was like 84%, men enjoy romance. They want romance. They sometimes want it differently than women want it, but they also feel like they don't know how to give it to their wife in the way that they want it. So they feel like they fail when they try to be romantic. And number 8, men care about appearance. And it says you don't need to be a size 4, but you need to make consistent effort toward taking care of yourself. So let's start with just number 1, Tracy. Men need respect. Where were you on that, and where did you land after listening to the book? And we all can answer that as well. I mean, Well, let me just say, Tracy's married, Ebony's married, Onita's married, Renee and I are single, but we've had relationships with men or whatever, so we'll answer from that perspective. Go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, so that's a big one. That's a huge one. In my household, and my husband, he has said it, like I want you to be respectful. Like if you, if we're having a disagreement and you raise your voice, to me, that's disrespectful, and so it's like I've heard him say it, but I don't think I really processed it, because again, I'm more focused on what I'm trying to say and what I want to communicate as opposed to, you know, really hearing him. And so, again, that was a part of why I had to go and apologize to him because I felt so convicted on the importance of men feeling respected. Like you said, in order for them to feel adequate, to feel competent, and so, feeling disrespected is equivalent to a man, and she indicates this in the book, of being unloved.
Yeah.
Like if you are disrespectful to your man, he's not going to feel loved. And so just the value and importance of that. It was like, wow, that's so good. Something that you hear all the time. Of course, we, read some text in the Bible, where Paul talks about women, husbands love your wives and women respect your husbands. And you just kind of gloss over it because maybe you think you're doing it and you don't recognize that there may be some ways that you're not respecting him. And so just to be more cognizant of that, I'm definitely more cognizant of it now since reading the book.
I think also like understanding that respect looks different for every man.
Yes.
Like, to T's example of, raising a voice, like we don't do that in our marriage. And there are definitely ways that I have disrespected them. And I did not see those things. I didn't see them. I felt like, I was doing what was right in the moment, but he received it completely differently, and I'm like, I'm not cursing you or hollering at you or whatever, in my mind, I'm thinking that's that's what disrespect is. But he's like, nah, sis, it's different for me, like this is what makes me feel disrespected when you do this or you don't do that. Just like, wow, it's the mind.
Right.
Yeah, I love the example she gave. It's very trivial, but I'm also a practical person about directions.
Yeah. Yes.
Baby.
Yes.
You in love, take a road trip. Everybody out there dating.
Yes.
Y'all in love, but take a road trip.
Yeah.
It's going to test you in ways that you like. Because that will test you. And I mean, we've been married 24 years, together 27, and I just got a clue, okay? Because I'm big on directions. Like, I need to look at the next 4 steps before I even proceed. Because, sometimes it comes up quick. Especially if that North Virginia, that 395, 495, don't do it to me. Okay? But that directions thing, when she made a point to say, even about the directions, the man would much rather figure it out, drive around. But if you over here keep nagging, why don't you just pull over and ask somebody? Or why don't you just pull over and ask somebody? They see it as disrespect. And I can tell you, my husband has felt this way in years past. I mean, and not just that, me having my own break over here, and me grabbing something over here, and it's sometimes really not that serious. I actually drive faster than him. I know I do. But I'm controlling it. Like, it's just different. But what I'm saying is, now I see that it wasn't just an annoyance. It's he felt disrespect.
Yeah.
And so just moving differently. And that speaks again because it's like, flip it now. If he was doing it and doing it made you feel unloved, how would you feel?
Exactly.
And I was just like, okay, Lord, I'm being convicted between that and the praying forward. Look.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, first of all, I was listening to the audiobook. So I'm not actually I didn't actually go through the book, so I don't know where certain things fall. But I'm thinking that this is one of the parts where the woman has a lot of responsibility to not jump the gun.
Yeah.
To take the time and try to listen and trust the process, right?
Yes.
Because there are certain things that they were doing, like one of the examples that she gave was about the son going to bed with no shirt on, right? She's just like, but he's gonna be cold. Like, why would you do that? I'm a mom, and this is how I think.
Yes.
But trust the process. So instead of like jumping on the father, she's just like, you know what? Tell me more. Like, I need to understand what's going on. And he's like, well, he's been asking me for a few days to go to bed. Mind you, mom is out of town. But the son has been asking for a few days to go to bed without his shirt on. And so I said, tonight, I'm going to go ahead on and let him do it. Yes, I, as the father, I know it's going to get cold. I know he's going to get cold. That's why I'm having him sleep in the bed with me. And when he gets cold, the shirt is here. He will put it on, right? So I'm going to just let him learn the lesson tonight. So had she automatically jumped on him, like, what are you doing? He always, in taking that approach, the outcome could have been totally different as far as the impact that would have had on him as a father, not feeling trusted to make these decisions or to do, do these. So again, when we're talking about the respect, if this is the section that she was talking about it, the woman does have a huge responsibility to stop and listen, ask questions before, again, we jump the gun and assume they don't know what they're doing or they're taking too long or why did you do that? So I thought that was really important. So again, I'm a single woman. You guys are in the mix and all that. But yeah, I'm taking notes. You know what I mean? On what to do when we actually get into this.
No, I agree. I think that I was going to say two things. And I was going to reference that same story.
Right.
I think that it's important. A lot of things can be resolved by asking just one more question.
Yes.
So that's just in life.
Yes.
You know? But the other thing, I just did a presentation to a couples group on Sunday, and one of the things that we talked about as the foundation of we were talking about creating a safe space. But I'm not interested in that. Let's create a safe marriage. Because a safe space indicates, okay, when we're having this conversation, I need to be safe. No, in every part of my marriage, I need to be safe. So how do we create a foundation of that? And I said the absolute foundation is that you trust each other's intentions. It's not about, is he going to cheat or do I trust your intentions? Because when you trust someone's intentions, you give them the benefit of the doubt. You think, okay, he's a great father and a great husband and he's smart. He's not just going to let this kid freeze to death, So I trust his intentions toward me. I trust them toward our children. So now I ask one more question to get clarity. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. When I read that, as soon as she said the scenario, I'm just like, he's teaching him a lesson because he's been asking. Because I think a lot like I see the 360 a lot of times because I do so many marriage seminars and because I study all the time. I've been reading this stuff. So I already saw that that's what he was doing without her finishing the story. But that helps me when I get married. I already have that. But I just think that one more question, because you're just like, I trust this person. I trust that they mean well and that they're doing well, or their intention is just to do well. So when I ask that one additional question, then I'm like, okay, that makes total sense. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I love that because that makes me think back to last week when we were talking to Ernest James and he was talking about submission. People really shed this negative light on submission, but at the end of the day, he was saying, you decide who you marry. You choose. So you decide who you are submitting to. So hopefully you're choosing someone that you trust, in all the ways. So when my son goes to bed with no shirt on, honey, I trust you to go in.
I think it's a balance to that though, because sometimes you don't need to ask another question. Sometimes you need to hear what they say and respect what they're saying and what they're doing and leave it at that. Because sometimes that one more question can be that question that leads them to thinking that you don't trust them.
I agree with that.
Definitely.
I do agree with that. And there are just times that you do need clarity, just in all relationships, as opposed to going away having some resentment or whatever like that. So I agree there's balance in that. So the next issue is, I don't know if we're going to get through all 8. So tell me one that you thought was another one that was pretty significant or just eye-opening for you.
Sure. The one about men needing to pull away, to process before engaging and having the conversation. I'll share a little example of my real life concerning that. Actually, this past Sabbath,
it's really good.
Just read the book. So, I said to my husband, oh, you're ready to get up to, get dressed for Sabbath school. And he's like, okay, and so we get up, we're getting ready for Sabbath school. I don't know what's going through my head, but for some reason I decided to ask him the question of, honey, what do you think about me? Like, what do you think about when you think of me? Where this question came from, I don't know. And my husband says, he looks kind of puzzled for a minute, kind of like, we said we were getting ready for Sabbath school, and I pulled out my clothes, and I'm getting myself together for Sabbath school. How did we get to this question? Because I'm focused on this. I'm focused on getting ready for Sabbath school, and now you're asking me this complex question. And so immediately I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to answer the question now. And he's like, I'm just trying to get ready for Sabbath school. I said, it's okay, hon. I get it. I get it. You can answer that question another time.
Totally.
Don't even worry about it. Yeah. So, yeah, again, just very convicting on how they are wired. They're wired so differently than us. Like, we could have that conversation and move on to the next complex question, and we can go from one thing to the next and not think, give it a second thought. And still be getting dressed.
Yeah.
And he's like, my focus is here. I can't, I can't. Well, and again, I think it goes back to what she says in the book in terms of they want to be able to give an intelligent answer, and they just can't come up with it on the fly like that. They really need time to kind of process it, mull it over a little bit, and then come back and actually have.
And when you say intelligent answer, what do you mean?
Well, so they don't sound silly or say
also
something.
Hurt your feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in the heat of an argument.
Exactly.
They need to pull away because they don't want to go and hurt your feelings.
Right.
So let them pull away, process it mentally, and then come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then to think about what we're even talking about.
Right.
Because as women, you're just like, you're processing as you talk and you're saying all this stuff. And it's just like, okay, I need time to think even about what was just said.
Right.
Yes.
And then determine how I feel about it and then come back and actually be able to articulate it. Because that's the other thing. One of the examples that she gave is that the guy said, well, I can go back and process it and figure out like how I came to this conclusion and decide. But if you now want me to articulate it, you need to tell me that in advance, because then I need to add that to my process. Because I didn't add that. I just figured it out on my own and was like, oh, I'm going to do this. But now you're asking me to explain, and I'm just like, okay, you didn't give me that assignment. Like I didn't know I had to do that. Yeah. So all of that for us is just kind of like, I mean, that just seems like a lot. How come you can't do it the way we do it? Right. Just like talking, and it's like, oh, that popped in my head. Yeah. But I think, first of all, that's who we want. God made them differently, and we want them. And so it's like, now we have to learn how to navigate that.
One thing you said, like said, we're thinking out loud. I'm glad she said it too clearly. That a lot of times our talking is us thinking out loud. And I would tell you plenty of times my husband goes, pause. Can you either give me the bullet points or what things you really want to get to right now? You're like, no, because I was ready to fix problem one, and you're going and I told multiple stories. And then he's like, so bring it back to us. What part of this I need to fix first? Because I'm like, no, but I was just saying, like, maybe one day I may try to. And he'd be like, but it makes to think. Right. It gets me to think something like, I'm sorry. So I did this actually with the AV guy the other day, Sean. I said, Sean, I'm just let you know right now, I'm thinking out loud. So once I get to the end of this, I'll tell you what thing I really yeah. And now I know. I was like, let me say that. But in the arguments, that's one thing I said in reading the book. That and not necessarily the argument, disagreement. There's some times where my mode is I really wanted to resolve it now, and him saying, "Let's not talk about this." Right. It was really just a way of saying, "Oh, let's not. Can we come back to this later?" Was really a good thing. It's a healthy thing to say. Let me come back to this. But me, especially in the beginning, I was pushing. No, we need to talk about it right now. Right. The Bible says, and she says this too, don't go to bed. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's like, to that point, he may not even been as angry. It's just the fact that now I keep pushing. Yeah.
Right. He's really angry. Yeah, ain't nobody go to sleep.
Ain't nobody go to sleep. So it's like, okay, take heed to that too. And I think, and we talked about this. Actually, Tracy did a presentation on that communication. It's not that we're not going to talk about it. Let's table it, but let's make a point to come back to it. Yeah. So that one, and for me, just my whole communication style or upbringing, I felt like, he won't talk about it. You're abandoning me in this moment. So we've learned to choose to also say, hey, I love you. I'm not going nowhere. But let's come back to this. Like, let's come back to it. I don't think it's going to be healthy for us to continue this conversation on. So I like that she brought this point out that, again, too, it's not even a moment of him rejecting me or saying, I don't want to talk about it. He really needs to pull back from the situation. And whether that be take a walk or sleep on it or whatever, let him do what he needs to do to process it, to come back together. Because, again, we chose each other. We want the best for each other. But to your point, this will help the whole marriage be safe for both of us.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that she said was that, like, from a woman's standpoint, I want to talk about it right now, right? And if he talks about it with me right now, I feel like he loves me. Well, she was saying that when he walks away, that's his way of saying, I love you. Yes. Because we can't have this conversation now, you know, based on the fact that I haven't thought through it, or I don't want to say anything to hurt you.
Right. Yes.
So, in all of that, get understanding. And I think that helps, you know, as well, to know that in advance when these conflicts or whatever arise.
I think we have to be intentional. You had talked about safe spaces, but we also have to be intentional about creating brave spaces. So, like, yes, you know, you can come back and talk about it, and we need to cultivate the culture of our relationship that we can say the hard things.
Yes,
and it's still going to be okay.
Right.
Yes,
you know, and that's not something that I'm good at. You know, it's you know, kind of a work in progress for our marriage, but it's a combination of the two. You know, you want to create a space where, you know, if we go away to process or what have you, and we come back together, we're going to have that real conversation. It's not going to be a situation where we try to, you know, just kind of float on and kiss and make up and everything is good.
Yeah.
Like, we got to talk this thing out. Right. Because otherwise, if it comes up again, it becomes that, you know, recurring issue.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's interesting is I was going to say, I hope that I marry someone who is like a woman, because I don't like to talk about it right now.
Me either.
I like to go process and hide and then come back to it.
Or not.
Yeah. So, like, I need someone who's coming after me. You know?
Yeah, no doubt.
So, what about men are visual? I had some thoughts about this. This to me was really interesting, because of course we've heard that a million times, and I've always said, well, I have eyes too. I don't understand when you say men are visual. It's like, yeah, I want the person that I'm with to look nice too. I like attractive things or whatever. So what does that mean? And she's the first person that ever was able to explain, well, I guess they explained it to her, because she didn't understand it either. Yeah. What does that mean? Right. And the fact that their brain is actually made differently, and there's like what is that? It's like a amygdala. It's not the amygdala. It's something else. Yeah. I forgot the name of it, but that's in their brain that's different than ours, and it lights up when they see an attractive woman. Yes. And so now it's an automatic response. And like she gave the example of when you're hungry and you walk into a room full of food, you have a response. But it's an automatic response, immediate, but then there's a choice that has to be made. Right. And so that to me was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And I think that opens up a whole lot of things around relationships and the health of that. And of course, she was clear to say that men who want to honor their women have learned how to turn away or do something else, baseball stats in their head, whatever it takes to get that image out of their mind. But it opens up the whole question of modesty, and as we as sisters in Christ, how do we present ourselves to protect our brothers as much as possible? But it certainly opens up this idea of how do you walk with that when you know that's true about your husband? He's trying to do right, but then you may have your own insecurities that might be, around and triggered or whatever. So maybe talk about that, somebody.
I think that also goes back to the brave and safe space. Like, so if you know that about men, then, it should be a conversation. It should be something that you talk about, but you also have to trust. You have to trust that your husband has the best intentions and not project insecurities, right? And so for women, like, our insecurities run the gamut. It's not just about him looking at someone else. It's about him not looking at me. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, those, and so not projecting that, because in when we do that, then we really do create an environment that increases their vulnerability. So we have the responsibility of making sure that we are dealing with our stuff in a way that is not negatively impacting them.
So even where I've seen women doing things during the pandemic, specifically, where the wife is doing something brand for the husband, you've had some people rejoice, but you had a lot of our strong-minded women being like, she shouldn't be doing that, and he should be doing that for her. There's been a huge paradigm shift when you do see women trying to do the romantic thing or being above and above. Why is she bringing him breakfast to bed? And why is she, the wife, you're seeing her help, she has her husband's shoes ready and different things. Those are romantic things that he's not having to look for. So it's taken my love language active service a step further, where it may not be that, the lunch is done or everything he needs is there, but greeting him with the kiss in the morning, there's a newspaper with it, or hey babe, here's your robe, but also making the point to recognize that doing something's fun is romantic. So one of our first dates was bowling. So just us talking about that, I was like, I'm surprised and playing a bowling game next week. Just to kind of get us back out there. Right. It's one, we also a little competitive when they come to each other.
We just live, loving, married, wives, and make an impact.
I was like, we're going bowling next week. I'm making a date. I'm planning it because, again, it's another form also of me initiating and not him just saying, you want to go out, what do you want to do? So I thought that was just great to even realize.
And showing an interest in what they enjoy.
Yes.
My husband loves cars. And he gets so excited and so passionate about, vehicles. And, he just wants to, let me show you this one and let me show you this one. And, and again, for him, that's quality time. That's romance to him. That makes him feel good that I'm showing an interest in what he enjoys.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be grand gesture. Like you said, it depends on your spouse. It depends on what they like.
It's also rediscovery. Something here now. I'm like, what is Ben passionate about now? Like, what would be his thing now?
Yes.
And I don't know that I know that, and so, like, that is a goal for me. I need to rediscover that. I mean, because we are moving at warp speed all the time, doing all the things, but not doing the thing,
Right.
And so it's like, let me find out. Let me find out what it is that would be his thing now. I mean, I would say my husband does spend a lot of time asking me things like, man, what's your favorite food? And I'm like, we know what my favorite food is. It's whatever you cook. Cook up and eat. Like, that's, but it doesn't always click to me that he is, and probably really until like today year old, Like, he's rediscovering.
Yes.
You know, and because another thing is because I do switch a lot. You know, like one day I'm vegan and the next day I'm not. You know, we gonna keep it a stack, like, you know. And so he's constantly trying to figure out like who my wife is today. You know, and I need to be doing the same thing for him.
Right.
And I think that as a single person, what I want to, I think this is from one of those movies, Facing the Giants, or one of those movies about getting fireproof. Getting a PhD in your spouse. It's like most people have like a GED.
Right.
You know, and it's just like, you got a long way to go, bruh. You got a long way to go, sis. But it's like all those things that were so interesting about them that made you want to be with them, there's so much more.
Right.
And then you just give up on trying to find that out because, you know, of course, life is life, but you know, I said to them on Sunday, I might have sounded a little frustrated, but in a sense I was, but I'm just like, so you can't find an hour to spend with the person that you said you're going to spend the rest of your life with? You can't find an hour of 24 hours in a day, even if you got to get up early. And they took that, they resonated with that. And she was like, cause they have to do takeaways at the end. And one person said, she's like, that was really powerful to me. That I don't take time. 30 minutes. I said, let's start with 30 minutes, but you can't find an hour? Come on. And so I think if we took that time daily, some of these things wouldn't be as much of a surprise. There's still some things that they may not just even know to articulate. Because there's some of these things they thought, well, women already know that. They just, and that's an interesting point because then it becomes, you know it, but you're just ignoring it. You just going, you just wilding out over here as opposed to, no, we don't know that.
Right.
We just found that out right now. And I'm going to go tell the world. But we just found that out. So,
I want to add to that time thing because right what you're talking with hippie was that time apart also takes you back to the Garden of Eden. The serpent didn't just get Eve because they were together. That time apart.
Say something right there, girl.
I was like, think about how much this time apart does to your relationship where we're spending so much time apart. You know, and not just time apart. Him scrolling. Because I would tell you,
you be in the same room and be apart.
Right.
And we're not building, we're not even learning. So for instance, maybe 3 years ago, because I was on Instagram for a while, because I was like, I'm getting some older on Facebook. But I was like, my feed looks totally different than y'all's. Ain't no big booty people or nothing. So depending on, he's like, well, these are my friends. And I was like, okay, what? So because the algorithms and all this stuff. So I was like, well, you need to shift, start liking like what I like. And he's like, it's my friend. So we had that conversation, right? But recognizing what this world looks like today, people think because we're sitting together in the same room, we're spending time together.
Right.
That disconnected time, the devil is helping to play.
Better say that.
And things we're not communicating as to why. I can tell you I've done it. I'm holding on to it. And it's becoming resentment, or it's becoming a place of, once I do have the bravery to say it or whatever, all these assumptions and things are going unsaid because we're sitting here, but we're not really talking. And so all that time apart, we've got a good example in the Garden of Eden of what that does. And we know the enemy, how he wants to divide, and he wants to steal, kill, and destroy. And if he can also break my marriage up, it ain't just going to affect us. It's generational.
Generational.
And so my husband and I came to, the Holy Spirit convicted us last year about this, of the fact that we talk about breaking generational curses. And if you're in anybody's church, you hear people talking about it, but they're talking about generational wealth. Money can come always. But what is the legacy we're setting up for our kids as far as marriage? And foundationally how that's in? Because also Christ does it. He says the bridegroom is coming. So recognizing that the first God or Jesus that my kids see is coming from my husband, right? So what if I'm disrespecting him? What are they saying? Okay?
Wow.
One, if he's not loving me the way I need to be loved. So this is all they're
learning about God. Come on.
You know what I'm saying? So all these things we have to be mindful of.
You have to pick up an offering now.
All these things, it all ties into that. And so that's my mindset when I look at generational love. Them seeing a healthy marriage, them seeing a healthy version of mom, a healthy version of dad, how we communicate with each other, how we grow together, how we have conflict and we can resolve it. Them seeing us hug and kiss each other and knowing it's a healthy thing. Us having things. We tell our kids we have date night, we're out, and they know it. At first I was feeling a little bit like, oh, we're leaving the kids, and now I'm so over that. I love it. Because, we raised them, then you become an empty nester. And let me tell you the sad thing, and then I'll move on. I've seen so many marriages dissolve when they became empty nesters. Because all these years, you have not spent time knowing each other, connecting, evolving, seeing what we like, rediscovering each other.
Growing
the whole thing. And so you spend all this time grinding. She talks about it in the book too. You grinding financially. And you also are grinding this marriage to like a dead tree stump to the ground. All right, I'm done.
Hey. Okay.
Them are some words.
Do you have any thoughts, Renee? Or church was in session. Well, let's end on men are providers. Men are providers. Was there anything? We hear that all the time. Men provide and protect, and a lot of times that obviously focuses on the finances, which is part of this as well. But did you have any revelations or anything new that came to you, Tracy? And then Ebony?
My husband, he values that so much. And so when we read in the book, that men often equate showing their love to their spouse, by being a provider. And I'm just like, okay, that is 100% my husband because, he works very hard and he values, taking care of his family. That's very important to him. And then, again, I think one of his love languages is giving gifts. So, he feels like I'm providing for her in this way as well. And, I know you mentioned, the book, for men only as well. And it's interesting how in that book, it talks about, women feeling like I would give up financial security in order to have relationship security. And men are the opposite. Men are like, no, I'm loving you by providing for you. And so it's just so interesting, how we may think a little bit differently on that, but to just respect each other on that point and make sure that we're, providing for each other in that way, like allowing him to show his love in that way. But then, him also,
I actually would love for us to do another one about for men only and actually have Hayden come on and conversation. I wanted him to be, but because we were going to actually be in the same place and then obviously it wouldn't work anyway. So I'm glad I didn't have him on standby, but I would love to do that. And I think that's the understanding that balance, that this is how he's thinking, this is how you're thinking. Now that we understand how each other are thinking, how do we bring that together so that we have a cohesive and we're not battling each other? Because one of the important things that she talked about in here was that, the wife is saying, I want you to spend more time. The husband is saying, but I got to work in order to provide all of this. And he's stressed out trying to find that balance. I mean, some people obviously overdo it. We're not talking about being a workaholic because that's not healthy for him or the marriage. But a lot of times, especially if you're in corporate or if you have your own business, you have to, but it's like finding that balance and understanding. You don't want to nag
but you also want to encourage and help him grow to the point where we can find that balance, because our marriage still matters. While you provided for the marriage is falling apart. You know, but then I don't want to be like, okay, well, you don't need to go to work at all because we ain't saying that.
Definitely not saying that.
So anyway, anyone else?
Yeah, my husband is like provider. Right. I mean, that has been provider and protector has been his a major part of his identity. You know, all the time, the entire time that I've known him, 26 years, 28 years together, and even before we were married, when he decided that we would get married and I would be his wife, because that's kind of how it went. He started at then. You know, he was making sure that I was taken care of. He was making sure that I was, behaving appropriately. And what I mean by that, I was very feisty, very like, you're not gonna tell me, and I got all the words and all the things. And he's like, that's not how we roll. That's not gonna work in our relationship. And I'm like, trying to tell me what to do, and that's not gonna work in our relationship. Like, my responsibility is to provide for you and to protect you. And sometimes I gotta protect you from yourself. Right. If you're out here, not acting appropriately, or you're out here, talking a certain way to me like that, I have to protect you from the destruction of our relationship, And so I didn't have understanding of that, but he is a provider. Like, he is going to work, he is going to work, and he is going to work, period. And I didn't understand. I felt like I had some understanding, but really, it really was solidified with the book. And I didn't have an understanding of how important it is, how ingrained it is who he is, how it is constantly 25/8 on his mind. Like, period. When he is breathing, he is thinking about provision.
Right.
That's it. And as a wife, I'm like, I get that, but I need you. I need you by my side. I need you as my partner in life. And he's like, yes, and I can't do that if I'm trying to provide. Yeah. I can't do that to the degree. I can't be present to the degree you may feel like I need to be, because I have to provide. And I'm still kind of understanding that and learning that. But what I have learned for sure from the book is I need to be affirming him in that. Right. Yeah. I need to be affirming him as the provider. So he is not going out here, grinding. Particularly, my husband is self-employed. He out here grinding and not thinking that my wife doesn't understand. Like, she doesn't appreciate. She wants things her way. Yeah. And so I need to be intentional about that affirmation of, I see you. And I have an understanding of why this is so important to you. Right.
I think appreciation is a great word. Because I think there's just some things that we're never going to understand, in the sense, because we don't get that way. We think relationally. I mean, part of back to the Garden of Eden, after the fall, part of the curse was the sweat of your brow. Is how you're going to make money, essentially. Right. And for women, it was like, you're going to be stretching out toward your husband. Your desires are going to be him. So we're stretching out to him, and he's stretching out over here trying to get, because the world has said that you get paid not just financially, but you get affirmed.
Yeah.
Your value comes from that.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's part of the curse, is having to is both of us being that way. I'm stretching to him and he's stretching over there. But then part of the blessing is God saying, no, I need you to love her. Yes. No, I need you to respect her, because it makes us turn toward each other. And so when we do that, then we have a little bit of heaven on earth. God said that we are able to. Right. Yes. So I'm just going to let everybody give final thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up. It's just been fantastic.
This has been great. I want to answer the provider because my husband's a big provider. And I would say, early on, I had all the words, part of it was his upbringing, coming from not much. So it's like, I gotta grind, I gotta make, and I never want to be this poor again and never be there. But then understanding too, how it is really ingrained in them. I was like, okay, wow, this is deeper than that. Now, and now I will say there was the point of us still having to have a conversation that was both, but specifically for him. Now, once we come home or once we're on a date or whatever, like some point work has to shut off. So to have that healthy balance, that we do understand that about them, but there needs to also be a balance at some point. Because listen, I've been on a job literally where they got Tuesday, the Justice cleaned out Wednesday. By Friday it was cleaned out and everything because Monday a new person was there. And so take the PTO. Take the vacation. I'm talking to men, take the sick days. Because your family needs you. So even all that grinding and providing for your family, take that time. And I just tell my husband, even when he comes over work, the kids don't necessarily need a lot of their time. But that quality time, like, even if it's 10 minutes, undivided attention, that's all they need. They're like, oh, I love you, Dad, bye. They're gone. This man ain't that long. They're like, 12 minutes, Dad, wait a minute. But understanding that, we still have to have the balance on that side of it, too. And then other thing to any woman listening, just saying, well, he only got this little job over here. It ain't a little job, baby.
Yes. Right.
For this man, he is working. Yes. Respect that, honor that. And I'm going to tell you, if you are behind him, supporting him, there's nothing you will not do. Yes. My husband will tell y'all see him, he's very honest. He's where he's at now because I was behind him every step of the way. And that behind him sometimes meant I was not going to work. Like, we had the budget, but so I could be home so he could pursue his dream. We even relocated for his dream. But we're seeing he in his stage now, but you got to get behind him. If this is your person, it ain't no little job. Right. Whatever he's doing, respect him, honor him in that, because that will give him that respect. Pushes them further. Oh, babe, you at KFC? Oh my gosh, you employee of the month support that. Wherever that is, humble beginnings, whatever it is, you can make it help. And if you didn't want the KFC guy, don't date him to begin with. But the thing is, whatever he's doing, support him because it will pay off and it will make him feel like he can do any and everything because you are behind it.
Excellent points. I think that just reminds me of what Renee said when she talked about just that women do have a lot of power in how they become, who they become, and how far they go, and how happy they are, and all of these things, and vice versa. We'll talk about that. Pastor Leggett, the one I was telling you about, he says that if a husband loves and cherishes his wife, there is literally nothing she cannot do. But if we respect and honor our husband, there's probably nothing he won't do for us. Right. Because we're all seeking to be built in a place where we have a void. Right. But when someone feels that, then, it's such a blessing. Ebony, had the final remarks or not?
I think that Anita's points are really, really convicting for me, and that it needs to be daily that I am recognizing and supporting and making sure that the support that I'm giving my husband is the support that he needs. First is like, I think, oh, well, he has this going on, so I should do this. But he has this going on, so I should do that. But doing the things that he has said, this is what support looks like for me, doing those things, and really being intentional about it. And, and sometimes, since you gotta fall back. Like, yes, your needs are important. Like, nobody's, not trying to say that they are not. And sometimes you gotta fall back so that energy that you have, you can put that towards supporting that. Yeah.
Yeah. Particular those. You don't know what you don't know. When it comes to relationships, now I know that there's so much to learn about the male-female dynamic. We are so different in the things that we do, the way that we think, the way that that's the same thing.
Same.
But we're so different, and it would behoove a lot of men, young and old, to take the time to get some understanding on the men. I mean, because like you said in this book, she gave so many real examples. I mean, literally, I was about to look out the window like, "Ma'am, are you out there?" You know what I mean? The examples were so on point, right? And when you think that you're going through, really good. Listen, but when you think that you're going through something that is unique, you read this book and you're like, no, this woman has said in this book 692,000 times that she interviewed thousands and thousands of men from all different backgrounds, ways of life. Oh, that's not another same, but nonetheless, she's interviewed so many different people. So it's not just somebody saying, "Oh, well, I think that they do this or I think that." Men said this. Yeah. So women, if you want to understand them, this is a good resource. This is just one of many. Yeah. Right. Also, there are older women who might have information to share. Yes. Don't be so prideful or whatever, or so private that you don't want to share. I'm not telling my business. You might want to find somebody that you trust, that you can share certain things with, so they can say, you know what, let me offer you something because I've experienced it. I know someone the other. What you get my point? Yeah. And I really appreciate this. So thank you, Tracy, for bringing this book up. Because it offered a lot of insight. Have I accepted it all yet? No, but is it still trying to sink in? Yes, absolutely. Because I do want to be the best woman and spouse that I can be in this terms.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a great resource. Like you said, it's a great resource to gain a better understanding of how men think and of their behavior. And, again, we don't have the ability to change them, but we have the ability to change ourselves. And so, again, what I learned from this book was the importance of validating my husband, respecting him, understanding where he gains validation from, being a provider. And so, I had quite a few takeaways from the book, and I'm so glad that I had an opportunity to discuss it with you all, because before we even talked about bringing it on the show, it's like, we've got to talk about this book. Yeah. I need someone else who I can, talk to this book about. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity to talk about it.
We're so happy that you're here. We love you, obviously, just because we've loved you for so long. This just felt like a normal conversation, except there's a camera. And I really appreciate you bringing the book into the conversation. It's just been so rich. So rich. And I love it. And I recommend to everyone watching that you get the book. You're a woman who's married, or you want to be married. You're a young girl. There's nothing really inappropriate about. I mean, I wouldn't go below 16 right now, but just talk about sex, which, I mean, they know about that. Yeah. So, but just talking about having a healthy relationship, because ultimately, we can make all the money in the world, we can do all of these things, but if you're married to someone who's miserable and don't like each other and don't have fun together, it's just what would even the point? And so learn podcasts, books. The Bible has a lot to say, and other people, as Renee suggested. It drives me a little bit crazy when I think there's so many resources that we have access to in the world right now. People just refuse to be happy. Like, they just refuse to be happy by learning something, growing. But if you're on your job and they get a new computer system, do you take the time to learn it because you want to keep your job? But then we don't invest in knowledge in order to be a better partner, better father, better relation. And that's part of why we're here. So we thank you all for watching, and until next time, make choices that will help you live, love, and God bless you.